Technology is the most powerful change in the world of education.
Everything changes.
Welcome to the Emerging Technologies in Education podcast, delivered to you by Clever Books Company. Listeners, thank you for joining the podcast Emerging Technologies in Education. We have a guest today, and the guest's name is Guy. Guy is from Israel, as far as I know, but I would like to give him a word to introduce himself, what he's doing, and which company he's working for.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Guy Levi. I am the Director of Innovation of the Center for Educational Technology, Israel's largest educational organization. We were founded in 1971 to promote the education system in Israel, and as our name, Center for Educational Technology, what we simply do, we harmonize content, pedagogy, and technology in this order, meaning I wouldn't say that content is still the sole king, but the relationship between digital content, printed content, pedagogy, and technology is something we have to look on, and technology is the tool by which we can really change content and change the pedagogy, and this is important. Technology is the enabler for that. I am actually, I am for the last, I would say, 8 years, I follow, in a sense, the disruptive innovation theory and practice, and I think that we need a huge disruption in 21st century education, because we have yet to take education into the 21st century, unlike almost all other, realms of life. We all live in a networked society, and in the education system, we still in the, hierarchy paradigm that we imported from the 20th century, and we have yet to move to a network learning environment, and this is a huge problem. And if we keep on using the vocabulary of 20th century education, we'll go backward.
This is absolutely interesting introduction. So you have the vast majority of interest and experience in technology. I believe you're strongly positive about using technology in education. Can you tell me a little bit more about your point of view? Why is it good to implement using the technology for educational purpose?
Well, today there is a huge gap between the way this Z generation are living their own life and schooling, and they come to school, and in a way they go backward at least one generation, and then they leave to school, they go back home, they live entirely different. With Thomas Friedman from the New York Times said that we live in an era of accelerators, accelerated phenomena, and this is precisely true. And in education, we have yet to understand that. So I think that today we need to look at three major or main changes. We need a huge change in pedagogy and curriculum. We need a huge change in the methodology that we use and practice in learning, be it the classroom or another environment. And the third, of course, we need to change the learning space, the physical learning space and the digital learning space.
That's an interesting point. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what you mean by changing physical space and digital space of learning?
Of course, but let me first start with the 21st century pedagogy. And I think that one of the problem is that we still use the vocabulary of the 20th century in education. And in my view, we do have to abandon that. And I will give some examples. But first, I think that one of the slogans that really say something about the era that we live in terms of education, if we look at the student, at the kids, is the right to learn, the right to create, and the right not to be tested. And what I mean by that is that every kids have the right to learn, but not all kids are the same. So one size does not fit all. Therefore, they have the right to create. We know today that kids create a lot of things digitally, and they make. Kids are maker. If it's making or even digital video, and it's all over in the social networks, and we know that by creation they're engaged, they're motivated. Therefore, creativity and creation must be the leading value of 21st century education. And not to be tested mean don't test them the 20th century way. One size fits all, national test, evaluate them all the time. They evaluate themselves during the process of making, of creativity. So this should be, I think, the line of 21st century education, and I'll elaborate on this. If we talk today about pedagogy, let me say 5 or 6 new concepts that were not really there in the 20th century. First is context-based learning. Learning must be contextual because that's the way our brain learn. And even a teacher, when you lead a learning process, you have to go back all the time to the context because that's what helps the kids learn. Second, let's promote incidental learning. When we go out, we use our smartphone, we're somewhere out there, we want to learn something, we have the ability. Let's harness it and connect it to the learning in the classroom. Now, incidental learning is useless without technology. And with this regard, the technology is the smartphone, the mobile phone. Because if I'm out of the street and I look at the name, I can Google and see what is the meaning of the street, and learning occur. This is incidental learning. I can take photograph of things and upload it to the WhatsApp group of the class of the teacher, or upload it to the website, and this becomes a resource for the next lesson the other day or tomorrow in the classroom at school. This is incidental learning. We have to harness it, so teachers have to lead that. Third, computational thinking. It's very important. It's much more than mathematics, and it should start at early stage. Most important, in my view, is productive failure. We know that entrepreneurship is loaded with failure. We know that we learn a lot from failure. Why don't we use productive failure as a methodology that is part of the new pedagogy? Another one, teach back. Let all kids be teachers. Let them teach one another. Let them explain one another what they have learned, what they've understood. With this way, they'll have a deeper learning, because from the failure or from the misunderstanding, they will learn much more. And last for this example is translanguaging. We know that today, that if kids are speaking in more than one language, their brain works better, the brain learn more. Let's harness that. Let's promote learning not only with one language. So these are all examples that could not live or exist without the technology that is integral part of our life today.
So I totally agree with you on that point, and I think that without technology, we cannot afford teaching in multiple languages, multiple disciplines. Although the teacher is the key point and the key part could be of the process of learning, but still technology could actually enhance the same language learning and everything. Because I agree with you that many kids nowadays, because of people are moving their countries and so on, they speak multiple languages, and it is totally possible to enhance this learning through technology. Can you tell me then which technologies currently available that, to your opinion, could be like really disruptive, really the technology of the 21st century that could help to enhance the education?
Well, I would say that I mean the biggest disruptor of 21st century education is the mobile phone. Uh, and this is for several main reasons. One, this is the first real personal device. You can't have a mobile phone that belongs to people. You can have a laptop that belongs to all the classroom. You can, of course, a desktop that many students use. So the fact that this is a personal device and it attached to you 24/7 uh, uh, enable engagement because it's mine. And everything I do with the mobile phone is mine and myself. So I think this is the main disruptor. Another thing, as we said, it's with me all the time, so it can enhance my learning. As I gave the example before, I'm out there in the street, I can continue to learn. Now we know that video, for example, is another disruptor. Not only YouTube, but micro courses. The mobile phone enable us to learn in micro learning, micro courses through the day. And we know that if learning comes with bites, with small bites, small chunks of learning along the day, uh, learning is much better than if you do it for like half an hour or 45 minutes once a day. So this is another thing. But I think that the other important technology is what we call online learning. Online learning can really disrupt the old model of the industrial model of schooling. Because online learning enable us to learn anytime, anywhere, with the best people, with different groups. So it pretty much disrupt the traditional structure of the school. And we term here at CT with our accelerator mindset, we ran a conference called From Schooling to Learning. Because we know that today learning is possible anytime, anywhere. So let's change the purpose of schooling. And by that, we need to change the learning space. Normal classes, normal classrooms, open spaces, comfortable spaces that enable kids to work in groups, in teams, to do online learning with other students and teachers from other places, not only their country or the city, worldwide, and give it a different learning environment. And it should be from first grade. Kids should not sit in desks on chairs in front of a teacher that speak and speak and speak. And we know from brain research today that the brain learns much better when the body is active and not passive. And so the industrial model of schooling is the opposite of everything we know today about learning.
That's an interesting point. By the way, can you like I will want to take the advantage that you're based in Israel and you have the idea of the landscape of school in Israel and education in Israel. How does it look like, and where is the Israel moving currently? Are there any future implementation of technology in at school or anything like this you can see?
Unfortunately not, but not only Israel. I think that all countries in the world are still rooted in the 20th century model of educational models, basically the industrial model, also with the national tests, etc. But in Israel, like in many other places, the United States, the UK, Ireland, Scandinavia, there are many islands of innovation. But these islands of innovation can help us generate or create the next paradigm of learning, but it gets only, at the most to maybe 4 or 5% of the kids or of schools. And the problem is that the curriculum is still very, dominant, and to change the curriculum is almost a mission impossible. It's not almost, it's a mission impossible. The testing, matriculation is still pen and paper. There is a move now to alternatives, but this move is very slow. And it gets less than 10% of the population, of the student population. So I think that there should be a paradigm shift, and the paradigm shift should be in the curriculum, in the methodology, and the practice of how the lessons and learning is arranged, and of course in learning spaces, as I said. But I would say something about Israel that does not really characterize the education system, but yes, it characterizes the culture of the country, is that the relationship between innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think this is the key, the one key for Israel to became the startup nation. The key of the startup nation is the connection, the relationship between innovation and entrepreneurship. Innovation, many countries have innovation, but entrepreneurship with innovation together is the key, because usually when you do innovation, you fail and you fail and you fail. But if you fail and you cease to do that, that's a huge problem. And I've seen several countries that they have innovation, but the lack of entrepreneurship culture do not give them the chance to fail and all the iteration that entrepreneurs needs. And I think this is a key. And I think that because this is the Israeli culture, it may help us do the change in the education system, but that's only time will tell.
That's absolutely interesting point of view. Really like it, because you are right that many countries are boasting that they have a lot of innovation and a lot of things coming up. But you're right with the point that combination of innovation and the entrepreneurship is the key to actually implement it. Because just having the idea in mind without implementation is not going to bring you really far. That's great. Another question that I have to you, like you are on the side of technology for education and changing the way we educate kids, which I absolutely agree and totally share the point with you. But you definitely meet from time to time people who may say like, I don't think that technology could be a good thing for the classroom. What do you normally say to those people?
Oh, well, this is a great question. And, I'm a storyteller, so it comes with a story. Um, about 10 years ago, we launched our platform of digital textbook. And the idea was, when I presented it in 2010 in the United States, and we're the largest textbook publisher in Israel, and of course printed textbook. So people in the United States, like guys from Pearson, HMH, and others, they said, you're shooting your own leg by providing a platform of digital textbook. So I said to them two things. First, we are the Center for Educational Technology, and we have to promote innovation, and this is innovation. Second, we don't want to be Kodak, and we know what happened to Kodak. And we thought around 2010, 2012, even 2014 and 15, that we are in a transition phase from printed to digital. And we know today, and we know it by proof in 2017, that there's no such thing, a transition from printed to digital. Both coexist together, and both the printed and the digital will exist and together, hand in hand, for the next 10, 15, and 20 years. We still need the printed textbook, and along that, the digital textbook and digital content. And everyone who are, black and white, true and false, no, it doesn't work like that. There's still many things that and advantages for printed textbook. And now we have to think how we combine, how we develop a pedagogy that takes the printed together with the digital, takes the traditional way of learning with the new way of learning. It's not black and white, and it's not a revolution. It's an evolution that the new comes and combine with the old together. And it's a change of, it's like a new mindset when we understand that they go together, and it is not a transition from to. And it was a very interesting revelation, I think, in the last 2 years when we understood that. And now we develop some of our printed materials differently, that they can communicate with the digital materials and not put them, like a parallel, while the printed parallel to the digital, and there's going to be no connection. And this is very interesting. And I would say to those, and you don't have to use technology all the time. Seriously, you don't have to use technology all the time. Use technology only when there is advantage for the pedagogical advantage on other means of learning or teaching. And I think this is the main thing. And the pace should be according to your needs, according to your capabilities. But if you abandon technology as a whole, because you said this disrupt the way we think, the way we do, and the way learning should occur, this is a huge problem, because then the gap is going to be wider and wider, and you simply lose, and you won't be able to prepare this generation to all the challenges they're going to face, next in 5-10 years. The labor market is going to change. The job market is going to change. Jobs will disappear. New jobs we have to prepare them for an era of uncertainty. We have to teach them a course on how do you deal with uncertainty. Many things that were not here because of the pace and acceleration of the technology 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And those, but I mean, it's side by side or step by step with the traditional way of learning.
I think the key element was that the evolution, combination of traditional and existing, and something new and something technological. Find it absolutely brilliant point. I would like to thank you a lot, Guy, for your time and great ideas that you shared. Highly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everything changes.